Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Tengu's live game development show where we show everything that goes into making a game from concept to completion. If you've ever wanted to make a game, we hope this will help lower the barrier to entry, maybe give you the nudge you needed to try it yourself. Even if you don't want to make a game, hope you'll find some entertainment value in what we're doing here. All of the information about where you can find us is in the Twitch info down below, for those of you watching this live now, or in our YouTube profile for those of you catching us later. But just in case, we're at www.bluetengu.com, btengu on Twitter, facebook.com Blue Tengu Studio, and youtube.com Blue Tengu Studio for those of you watching the live stream. And if you want to stop by the live show someday, Twitch TV Blue Tengu. If you missed any episodes, you can always catch them over at YouTube, but you shouldn't have any trouble following along even if you haven't seen them. For those of you who haven't seen the show on Twitch or YouTube before, my name's Eric. I'm a game designer living over here in Japan who's trying to show you everything that goes into making a game for about 2 hours a week, including all of the ums and ahs and awkward debugging moments. The reason I'm showing it all as opposed to making the game first and scripting out a rehearsed tutorial like most people do is because I want to help lower the barrier that people feel about making a game, and I hope inspire you to go out and try it yourself. Thank you to everyone who stopped by last week, and to all those of you who watched the video on YouTube. For those of you here with me on Twitch, feel free to drop suggestions, ask me questions at any time. May not be able to answer them right away because I am working, and the screen with the chat is off to the left, so I don't always see it right away. Plus there's lag and everything else, but I'll try to get to them. And if I can't, please send me a private message here, leave a comment on our site, bluetengu.com, or on the YouTube video. and I'll do my best to address it next time. If any of you are out there making something and you don't mind showing it off, send me a link to your stuff. I'd love to see it. So at this time, for every week for 2 hours, I come on Twitch TV to work on the game Project Spaghetti, which is a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fired bounce around the screen with a pinball mechanic. Last week I managed to get the basic laser working by moving back to the pixel-by-pixel collision check, which I wrote a little bit about on the site about a week and a half ago. But there's still plenty of work to be done before the laser is actually fun. For one, there's very little warning when it's about to fire. I did do a few things to fix that over the last week, but its behavior is also very difficult to predict, and the reflection against crystals can be too much for a player to process. So this episode I'm going to focus on brushing up that gameplay. But first, since it's a new month, that means it's time to take a look at the task list over at Trello.com, see how we're doing according to the schedule set back when we first started. So let me jump right over to that. And hit over here. This is the task list that I keep for the project over at Trello.com. The easiest way to find it is to just go into Google or a search engine and just type Trello and Project Spaghetti. Not a lot of people are using those three keywords together, so it should, at least in the first 10 pages, get to here. But I usually post a link on the YouTube video, and I think at the very bottom of the Twitch information, there's also the link there too. And it's public, so you can come over and see it anytime you want. But last week, which was episode 22, changed the laser, got it sweeping, reflecting off crystals. In the meantime, I did a couple of cleanup tasks, so I should go over those first. Once in a while, there was this whole memory error when I started skipping around levels, and wrote a comment to myself to remind me what that was, but what I did was I added comments in room start and room end inside of Game Maker, which is the program that I use to make this, and pinned the problem down to the MP grid creation. Even though I was cleaning it up properly, it was just because the creation takes time. Like you'll notice, well, I can show you I guess when I jump into the game, but you'll notice it takes time for the grid to pop up. And I think what happens is if I skip levels too quickly, it's making the grid in the background while I'm destroying it before jumping, causing all sorts of havoc. That, I think, was the problem. So I solved it by just not destroying MP path, but clearing it all, creating a new one. So it's nice to finally get that out of the way, because I didn't like having it crash on me when I was skipping around levels. That was no fun. I also fixed the player laser, but that's not important because that's just a debug thing. And I gave the laser a transparent border. Basically, my note to myself here, I changed the alpha and drew 2 lines, one thicker than the other. So I have a 3-pixel line that's got an alpha is just transparency, but I had a 3-pixel line which was fairly transparent, and then I drew 1 line that was 1 pixel wide in the middle that was a little less transparent. So it had a nice cool effect there. You'll see it when I jump in the game. Went back to the desert level, fixed the scorpion's blocking mechanic. Before I was using the directions, like the sprite directions, to try and determine where it should be blocking, but rather than that I just used the direction and how it was against the bullet. Works a lot better now. Also, the cactus bullet, because one thing that was bugging me was the fact that the cactus bullet is derived from the actual bullet. You kind of expect it to bounce when you see it come out, like the other bullets, but it doesn't, because obviously that would cause chaos. But I did fix that by stretching it out so it doesn't look like a bullet anymore. It does still look dangerous, but it doesn't look like a bullet. And I did some things to help with that laser, making it easier to tell when it's coming, because now I have a sound effect for when the alien's charging the laser, when the alien fires the laser, and as the alien's sweeping the laser. Also have some particles around its eye when it's starting to charge up as well. So that's what I did there. But since it's a new month, it's time to check and see how I'm doing on my schedule. In general, I think my burn down is pretty much stabilized here. I don't I don't use the Scrum for Trello plugin anymore because it was slowing things down, but in general, it's always about, 2.5 hours, 2 hours worth of tasks that I get done every episode. I think 2 is probably a safer way to go. 1.5, 2. So that means if I want the rough gameplay done by the end of December, look over here at the calendar, there's this episode and 3 more to get that done, which means, a safe pace of 2 hours. That means there's basically, 6 hours worth of these tasks that I'm going to be able to get done. For this episode, I think this will fill out this episode pretty much. One other thing I do want to do as I'm doing this, I do realize that right now the player's dodge mechanic just has them duck in place until they pop up and then they can start moving again. That's fine, and the reason I did it that way in the first place was to kind of create kind of a rock, paper, scissors situation with ducking so that the player just didn't duck all the time, because it could put them in a bad situation if they don't do it right. But I think the timing of the duck is enough for that kind of risk reward to go on. So what I think I want to do is allow the player, if they are ducking or if they're about to duck, to actually roll or at least move aside somewhere. Because especially like with the laser and some other things, I think it's going to make the game, a little more playable, a little more interesting as well, because the player has something they can do even when they're ducking. I don't think it'll be that confusing either, so that's one thing that I'll do, and that's probably going to be, this is a rough sprite. I should probably say rough sprite in this task. So getting the player to be able to move while they're in the duck state or the crouch state, and having at least rough sprites to show that's going on. That's probably next week, an episode, assuming things go right today. The other thing I wanted to do was inside of the game, I use kind of a traditional gameplay approach, which is just having the number of bullets and the number of lives in the upper left of the screen. I think there's a smarter way to do that, because if I only give the player, a maximum of 2 or 3 lives, I could probably, kind of ghosts and goblins it, yeah, whatever, G&G it, and actually express the fact that they're running out of health or that they've regained health or something with clothing. So like they could, have their hat blown off first, and then maybe they're just down to their underwear on their last life or whatever. That way the player doesn't have to look up to the left to see how many lives they have left. It's just apparent from looking at the character. It's an experiment. I'll try it. And that would be 2 episodes. So then the last week, I do still want to kind of put in, at least try a boss cowboy or a boss enemy, just to see how it works in the game. May or may not work with the game system, but it's something I do want to try. And then once that's done, like I said, back in July, my goal was to get the basic gameplay done by the end of December. So that's going to be pretty much it for this year. But starting in the new year, it'll be about brushing up the game, which will take me into all of these tasks. Debugging tasks, brushing up graphics, because they're all placeholder right now, adding sounds, music, that kind of stuff, animation. So that's where I'm at now. But since there's a lot to do this episode, let's get right into it. First thing is the alien starts fire. I want the alien to start firing at the player, not in one of 8 directions. Let me show you that. Let's get something visual going, so I'm not just talking here. So Game Maker Studio is what I use to make the game. And let's just jump right into the game, show you where it's at right now. Simple enough. I think my sound's on. Yep. Okay. So, basic game, you can walk in one of 8 directions, same as the bad cowboys that are kind of coming down here. You fire the bullets, they bounce around the screen with a pinball mechanic. The longer they bounce, the faster they get, and when they hit an enemy, they're worth more. The enemy can duck, as well as the player. And as you can see, there's the lives in the upper left of the screen, and when I lose all 3, I get a game over. Jumping to the other levels, this is the ghost level, which I made around Halloween time, appropriately. So you have to ring the bell to get the ghosts in a state where you can damage them. If they're in that white, unangry state, you can't hit them. The bullets just go through them. So there's a big risk and reward in this game, or that level. This is the desert level. I mentioned the scorpions being able to block a little better now. Now their blocking is really based on bullet direction and stuff, so they're pretty much always going to block you if they're facing your direction, so you have to use the reflection to get them from behind. And, oh yes, the cactus. Let's see if I can not have these scorpions angry at me. Basically angered them. But there we go. There's the cactus. Whenever you hit it, it fires off angry spines, but now they don't look like bullets anymore because they're longer. So that's that. And this is where I'm at now, the alien level. And I added particle effects and sound effects, so when this guy starts firing a laser, you actually see it coming. Well, I got hit by the reflection on that one, but one thing right now is, just like the player can only fire in one of 8 directions, the way the alien starts out, they look for the player. Let me just show this in Paintbrush, just to show the algorithm I'm using to get the alien to shoot the player. Say this is where the player was when they start looking to shoot the player. So they notice that the player's here. So they keep track of that, and then they start charging the laser. If in the meantime the player's moved up to here, what this determines is when they start firing the laser, it means they're going to start sweeping in this direction. I used the same basic shooting mechanic as the bad cowboys and the player, which means they only start shooting in one of 8 directions, which are these, 45-degree angles basically. So it picks the closest of those to start shooting and then sweeps, this way. The problem with that is because the laser does sweep, it's not quite the same as bullets being only able to fire in one of 8 directions. It actually is more confusing to the player that the alien's able to do that, because you end up with a situation where, and it keeps getting me killed, so I'm sure it'll get other people killed, the player is just right here. So ordinarily what you would expect to happen is for the alien to start firing, when it starts to charge, start firing here and then start sweeping in one of these 2 directions. The problem is the alien starts firing here and then starts sweeping in one of these 2 directions, which means when the player does try to escape, they end up running right into the laser. That's no good. So that needs to be fixed. That's that task. The next one is the laser sweep. To make it easier to dodge, it's going to have to start slow, speed up, and finish slow, because otherwise it's just instant. I mean, it's got a delay, so it does take time to sweep across, but, for a player who's, for example, seeing this laser for the first time, it's probably a good idea to know that it's going to start moving. So to give the player a little chance to kind of dodge and get ready for it, probably a good idea. Another thing I want to fix is that if the player is ducking, the laser should sweep over them, but because there's a collision event going there, the laser thinks, oh, I'm done, and then it stops firing, which is really weird. Last thing is to delay the damage to an alien when a laser hits them. We'll see if I get to that, but that's probably also important just for visuals so that the player knows what's going on. So let's start with firing the laser at the player, not in one of 8 directions. That shouldn't be too bad to fix. Going over here into objects, let's see, the one that's determining where the laser's firing is the alien object. By the way, if you like making 2D games, Game Maker is really good for it. There are professional level games made in Game Maker, though some people online are not fans of it. I've got a love-hate relationship to it after these 6 months of doing this project. One example of that is I just tried to use the GameMaker source control, internal source control system. Didn't work at all, kind of messed things up, and it's like, nah, never mind. So there's definitely things they still need to work on. Obviously, I'm sure they don't have as many engineers as something like Unity or Unreal Engine, so they're doing their best, that's fine. And hopefully my voice doesn't give out on me here. It's awfully cold over here in Japan. Okay, so first let's get the laser going. The laser is done through all of these alarms here. When it's first charging, it starts to say, yes, I'm in the shooting state. It chooses the angle, and then if there's a clean shot, starts charging the laser. The thing I'm going to have to change is this. Sorry for the throat clearing. That's probably quite disgusting. Okay, so the EM shoot angle takes where the player is and finds an angle, and what I have been doing so far to get it to do just like the player in the Bad Cowboys is I take that shoot angle and figure out, whether that means up, upright, pick one of those 8 directions, those 45-degree angles, exactly here. Don't want to do that anymore. Probably just want to have the EM laser direction just be the shoot angle, which means I could probably get rid of all of this, to be honest. EM direction, I think I need to keep that, because I think that's what determines the sprite of the character, because obviously if the alien's going to start shooting towards the player, they need to face the player. Right now the alien's just one sprite, so you can't really see it, but what I need to change is this. Easiest way to do it's just going to be this. Maybe I don't need the variable anymore, but I can think about that later, because there may be other places I'm using this. And I noticed when I'm watching the videos up on youtube.com, Blue Tengu Studio, that the keyboard is extremely noisy when I'm typing away. So I tried to put a towel under it. We'll see if that helps that situation. Unfortunately, the camera is very good at picking up sound. Good thing and a bad thing. Okay. Distance to player, collision line, distance to object. That should all be fine. Distance to bumper. EM laser direction. Yeah, that's all using EM laser direction, so hopefully that works out. Like the stuff at the bottom that's commented out is the original bullet shooting mechanic, so there for reference. So EM laser angle or EM laser direction should now just be where the player was. Let's try it out. Be nice if that's all I had to fix for that task. Jump to level 4. By the way, there's that grid I was talking about. Yeah, it looks right. Yeah, exactly. Easiest way to test it. There we go. Okay, so it's working now. Instead of trying to find the closest, of those 8 directions to the player, it just fires it where the player is, which means that the player is safe as long as they keep moving. In general. So I know that if it's going to start charging, I should probably start moving in one of the clockwise or counterclockwise directions. It's going to reward players who basically move in circles. By the way, now that it shields down, I can always kill it. Oh, that feels so much better. Wow, that's 100 degrees better than it was. By the way, if you want to know how I made that really weird sound effect, just a quick note for those of you who are doing this on your own as well, who are doing game development. There's 2 ways I go about sound effects so far anyway. One is to use this great program called BFXR, which is either online or you can have just a version that you can do. You can pick sound effects and all that. And there's even, if it starts up, there's even a laser sound effect that you can just kind of fiddle with parameters and do. If you just want a random one, you can click on this until you get one you like. But I made that sweep sound in Audacity. Basically what I did was I generated white noise to start, and then I did a phaser on it, I think, first, and then I started changing the pitch up and up and up and up, and that's how I made that sound. So it's kind of easy to make sounds. The problem with BFXR is it's not very good at making looping sounds or continuous sounds. It's more for one-off sounds. So I had to go into Audacity and do some stuff with that. But there we go. Start firing the laser at the player. That's done. That was easy enough. Next is for the laser sweep to start slow, speed up, and finish slow. That's going to be a little trickier. It's going to involve more than just one variable change. The sweeping goes on here in alarm 6. Right now, let's stretch this out so I can see everything. EM angle increment is alien sweep angle divided by how much time it needs to be sweeping. So what this means is if I want it to go 90 degrees over 9 seconds, that means go 10 degrees a second, basically. And this is what actually changes the laser angle here. So how do I want to go about this? It's a little bit tricky because unfortunately I have to use alarms in GameMaker. That's one of my hates with GameMaker, is that the old GameMakers had a wait function. GameMaker Studio does not have a wait function, which means you have to use alarms, which is probably a good thing for the most part. It prevents endless loops and laziness and stuff like that, but in cases like this, it would be really nice to just have a nice, while do this, wait a frame, go back in, do it again, rather than just coming through this alarm every time. Kind of have to fudge a while loop, which makes this a little trickier because angle increments, I needed to make this angle increment small in the beginning, large in the middle, and then small at the end so that it all adds up to this again, this alien sweep angle. You think of like a normal curve. This is going to be very interesting. Yeah, it's basically this. Starts out slow, speeds up, slows down again. I'm sure GameMaker has normal math function. I don't know how they would describe it. Well, I don't want to look on images. Dot product, vector math. Yeah, they're talking about normal mapping, normal vectors. Let's see if anyone else has done this before. Use Google for what it's good for. Start slow, speed up. Compile time very slow. Well, that's nice. Picking slow motion. Interesting. Well, let's see. How would I go about this? I guess I don't have to. I'm not going to get any hints online unless I know how to search for this. So, what would I need to do? The first thing is to figure out this alien fire time. Let's make sure it's going to add up. I guess that's going to be the important part to this. So it needs to go here, start slow. Maybe for the first 15 degrees, has to go slow. It'd be nice if I could get a curve motion going to it. It would be really nice if I could do that, because then it feels smooth. I don't want to just have this sudden jump in speed. So up until 45 degrees. It goes faster. Maybe I have to do it that way. Just keep adding to the speed until it gets to 45 degrees or halfway through the angle. And then start slowing it down after that. I'm not going to get exactly this alien fire time if I do that, unfortunately, but let's just see if it works. Let's get one thing working at a time, right? So change the laser angle. So I'm going to need some ifs in here. So let's see if, what do I want to do in here? Every time it comes into the alarm. I should probably count the number of times it comes in here. No, I don't need to do that. I can use a angle increment. If angle increments. Basically, I want to check if it's reached the halfway point or not. So if it's less than, let's go less than or equal to alien sweep angle divided by alien fire time. Well, no, I don't need to do I don't need to worry about time. Just alien sweep angle divided by 2. Okay, so if it's halfway through, if it's less than halfway through the sweep, then do whatever's in this if. Otherwise, do this. And I should probably comment this so I remember what I'm doing 6 months from now in debugging this. Oh, Pandabits. Hey, Pandabits. Yep, doing the laser thing today. I did get it working just to show you. Well, I guess I can't show you right now because it's, well, no, okay, I'm at a good spot, I guess. It won't crash on me, but I'll show you where it's at now. Pandabits is one of the people on Twitch TV who has given me lots and lots of help over the last 2 months, lots of great ideas. But here's where I'm at with the laser. It fires at the player. That's a bug, so I wouldn't worry about that for now. But it starts firing. And when it hits the crystal, it reflects off properly. It's sweeping properly towards the player. What I'm doing now is trying to get it so that it starts slow, speeds up, and then slows down again. The aliens are killing themselves quite a bit this time around. There we go. I think I have too many crystals in this episode, or in this this map, just making it really hard to show this, but that's basically where I'm at with the laser. So I am back to alarm 6, and I want to speed it up if it's less than halfway through the sweep. That's my comment I'll leave to my future self. Hopefully I can decipher that. And instead of just always setting laser sweep to be laser sweep plus angle increment, I want to do something to speed it up here and slow it down here. Okay, so I need to do I probably need another variable as well. That gets set when I start here. Laser sweep speed or something like that, probably. Laser sweep speed. And start out at 0 because it's not moving fast at all. Make sure I remember that variable name, otherwise I'll get an error. Okay. And I probably need to reset that to 0 every time it comes in here. So I do need to do something here. Reset it to 0. Laser sweep speed for next time. Okay. Now I need to start speeding this up. Times EM laser sweep speed. This is why I copied and pasted. There we go. Okay, so at first it's not even going to move because it's at 0. But the only way I'm going to get it to start moving is if I start moving this speed up. Probably should have a variable for this. Let's define a constant. I'll call it sweep normal. Nah, that's not going to make sense to me weeks from now. Sweep acceleration. It's long, but at least it'll help me remember what it is. And let's just put 0.2 in there just to see what it does. Okay. Interesting. Laser sweep speed plus 0.2 is probably way too much, but and actually let me put that first because I already have a delay before the laser starts moving, so I can use that. And Pendovitz mentions, yeah, the laser turns and hit things, so it's working. Yes. Yes, it is working. The laser is working. A very good feeling. That was a very difficult and very confusing episode to try and get that thing working properly. And slowing the laser down, I want to do the reverse, which is subtract sweep acceleration from the laser. And this has to be the same. And this time it's minus. And I guess I need a limit too. I think there is a limit function in GameMaker, so I don't need to use another if then. Ceiling function. I'm sure there is. If Excel can have a ceiling function, I'm sure this can have a ceiling function. That's probably what I want. No, that's for rounding. Clamp. Okay, there we go. Clamp. Okay. So I'm going to want to clamp this value so that the laser doesn't go like minus and then start coming back the other way or something, because that'd be bad. So I want to clamp this. This one I don't have to worry about clamping too much, but alien max acceleration, just so I can fiddle with those values later if I need to speed it up or slow it down. And then I think I need alien min in here as well, even though it won't come across that one. since it's clamping between two values. So basically what that means is if I use clamp and if I have, clamp, yeah, I'm not using a tablet, so I'm doing the best I can writing with the mouse, but if you use clamp like this, that means that if x is less than 0, this returns 0. If x is greater than 5, it returns 5. If it's somewhere in between, then it just returns x. That's all clamp does. Okay, so now I need to define these things before I forget. Max acceleration, let's go with 1.5. The heck. I'm probably not going to know what these values mean in-game until I actually see them in action. I mean, I guess I could work it out on a paintbrush or whatever, but it's probably faster to do it this way. Now, if I'm subtracting, I guess I just want this to be 0. Okay. Yep, that's good. So now I need to subtract, but still have a clamp in there, so easiest way is to copy and paste. This way, no matter what, never gets below 0. And actually, that shouldn't be 0. Because otherwise it could just stop somewhere and just never keep going, so I need at least some speed. Well, now let's see, what is it? Sweep acceleration, laser sweep. Min should always be at least sweep acceleration, shouldn't it? Okay. So now it's subtracting or adding. So if it needs to speed up, EM laser sweep speed gets larger and larger until it hits that alien max acceleration. EM laser sweep to EM laser sweep minus sweep speed. Yeah, both of these need to be plus, because the laser still needs to keep going forward. If I use a minus, it'll start coming back the other way. And I think I've got it. So the other thing is to slow it down. If it's more than halfway through the arc. And I think I've got everything the way I need it to. Wish this window would stretch out a little more for me. Okay, so sweep speed gets faster and faster and faster. And here it should get slower and slower and slower. Okay, let's see how it goes in game. And I think I'm going to cut those crystals out so there's just one. It looks like it's kind of going the same speed. Yeah, let me get rid of some of those crystals, because there's too many of them. Let's put one in the middle of the map. And get rid of these ones. So otherwise there's too much reflection and everything else going on. And just so the aliens can move into those places where they were. as far as I could tell, EM laser sweep. EM laser sweep. Oh, okay, because I'm never actually doing anything with this value. I think it's the problem. EM laser minus angle increment. Or plus angle increment. So I need to add this to angle increment. Instead of using angle increment, I'm supposed to be using this, right? EM laser sweep. Okay. Yeah, if I don't actually use that variable I took all that time to prepare, then obviously nothing's going to change. Bad placement for that crystal bumper. I guess the player is going to be kind of hosed here. Yeah. Let's move that crystal so that it isn't right where the player spawns. Let's move it up here. Okay. Forget about things like that. And PandaBits mentions, well, also it's easy to see you have a light speed laser in the game, and light speed rotating laser since laser travels at light speed. Yep. Minecraft Fun Eyes Gaming says, "Hey bro back. Thanks for watching, and thanks to all of you guys who are out there lurking in the chat right now. Don't worry, I never look up your names or whatever if you're not talking, so feel free to lurk. I won't start calling you out. I'm just glad you're watching. Okay, it's working now. It's just way too fast. So it starts out slow, and then it starts accelerating. I don't think my player's fast enough to see it through to the end, though. So I need to drop those speeds. So max acceleration, let's go with 0.5. Let's go with 0.5. Maybe change min to 0.1. Sweep acceleration, let's change that to 0.1 as well. And let's just see if that slows things down. Yeah, PandaBits is mentioning, getting stuck in that crystal, the best survival game, the one where you can neither move nor aim. It'd be interesting if someone could actually come up with a concept that works with that, like a version of Robotron where you're just stuck in the middle. Okay, at least the laser speed looks a little more reasonable now. Just to test this, I think I'm going to just get rid of that crystal altogether. Just delete. I'll put it back in afterwards, but I want to see that laser go all the way to the end to make sure that it's working properly and that it's the right speed. So no crystals. Now it's just the other aliens that can kind of get in the way. Starts slow, moves fast, gets faster. Yeah, so it's much easier to see it's coming. It's still way too fast, though. So let's clamp this even more. And let me take a look at that just to make sure I'm doing things right. So EM laser plus laser angle increment times laser sweep speed. Because originally I was just adding angle increment to itself over and over again. Seems like it would be alright. It's going a lot faster than I would expect. I think I know why. This needs to be clamped. Yeah, that needs to be clamped as well, because the angle keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's nothing to stop it from doing that. If laser sweep speed never gets above 1. No, but laser sweep keeps getting added to laser sweep. No, that's fine. I should probably bring up Notepad. Oh, okie dokie. So before I was doing this, no, I wasn't doing that. I was doing it down here. Laser direction is plus equal to that. So that's what I was doing before. And now I'm doing this. Now theoretically, if EM laser sweep is always less than EM angle increment, that should slow the laser down. But is it always less than EM laser angle increment? No, probably not. Okay. I don't need to be doing plus. I think that's my problem. That's my problem. I'm adding when I should just be setting the value. Okay. Now it's probably going to move painfully slow because I've changed all the variables to slow down. I'm sure the laser is super painfully slow now. Yep, as could be expected. Certainly much easier to dodge. Well, not really, because the laser would stay on top of the player way too long. Okay, now let's get these things back to where they were. So max acceleration should be 1.5. Min acceleration's fine at 0.1, probably. So that it starts out really, really slow and then speeds up. Let's see how it goes. Gotta make sure I move this to the top so that you guys can see it, because I think the bottom of the screen gets cut off there. Which is unfortunate, because GameMaker's debug messages are down there too. Okay, that's not too bad. Now that there's too many aliens on the screen, they're going to start shooting each other, but... Okay, now let's get it down to just this one guy. No crystals to bug him, so he should be okay when he decides to shoot me. By the way, the disappearing on duck thing is a problem I'm going to fix next. At least I have the basic system in place. I can adjust the speed parameters later, because I suspect it needs to get a little faster at the peak. Yes, that's one problem with using angle increment and multiplying it, is that he's going to just keep going. So let's fix that. Let's see, where is it? If EM laser sweep is greater than alien sweep angle, EM laser sweep speed. EM angle increment ratio equal to that. Yeah, I'm using my variables wrong in here. I just have to fix that. Laser sweep speed. Clockwise, counterclockwise. No, it shouldn't be going 180 degrees because it should hit that end. If EM laser sweep is greater than sweep angle, which is 90 degrees, or 180 degrees, isn't it? Sweep angle 90 degrees, okay. So EM laser sweep is going to hopefully end up being greater than that. EM laser sweep. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of screwing it up here. Yeah, I did need that plus, okay. Because that is the angle. I'm surprised that was working. EM laser sweep. No. Should probably have that down here, shouldn't I? That could be the problem. Maybe I don't even need to do anything up in here. That's the problem. Okay, that's what's causing the problem. Probably. Instead of laser sweep, I need to do this. Because all I'm doing is laser sweep speed is I'm taking the original angle. I'm just determining a speed. That's all I'm doing here, right? Yeah, I'm either speeding it up. It's kind of a percentage. It's like it starts at 10% and goes up to 150%. So it goes 10%, adds 10% again, so it gets to 20%, 30%, 40%, until it gets up to 150, and then it starts going down the other way. Well, whether it gets all the way to 150 depends on time, but that's the thing I need to multiply by angle, increment, and then the laser direction has to either subtract or add that, depending on whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise. Okay, now it should work. And PandaBits has been following. I guess there's a little bit of lag here, so mentioned. Looks like the laser isn't slowing down again. Yeah, it wasn't. Probably at the time you typed that message. Just speeding up, then suddenly stopping when the timer ends. Yeah, I suspect it's just my speed range is pretty limited right now. Okay, now we're down to 1 alien, so we're good to go. So theoretically, it should start really slow. Speed up and then get faster, but it seems to be kind of moving at a consistent speed. Plus, it just keeps going, so I'm still doing something wrong here. I'm obviously getting my variables mixed up because they all kind of sound similar, which is bad on my part. Times laser sweep speed. Laser sweep speed is clamped between these things. The laser direction is the actual laser direction. And the problem is laser sweep is now not being updated to anything. So I need to do that first. This is why the laser just keeps going around in a circle, by the way. Because all laser sweep keeps track of is how far the laser's moved so far. Oops, yeah, I do need those parentheses. So regardless of counterclockwise, clockwise, it just needs to add. So that should get me out of the whole firing forever thing. Now let's see if we can figure out the speed thing. So it starts out laser sweep speed 0.1, because it probably only takes a few frames to get up to maximum speed, which might be the problem. I guess I could try to see how it's working by making this really small. The acceleration, make that really small and see how that goes. It's probably way too small. If it works, that means the laser's just going to go really, really, really slow. But at least it'll show me it's working. Oh, yeah, well, I just named the variable wrong. EM laser sweep. Right? EM laser sweep. Yeah, okay, I just named the variable wrong there. Need to be careful with that. Okay. Let's do this. Really, 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 really slow. Kind of speeds up until it gets to the 90 degrees. So that's good. I think that's kind of working. 0.05. This is just going to be adjusting those numbers until I get the speed to feel right. Starts slow, gets faster and faster, slows down. Alright, there we go. Now let's just see if the speed feels right. Oops. Yeah, that's one of those cases where I forgot that I moved down while I started to charge. Yeah, that's not too bad, actually. It seems about the right speed for the player to get away from it or to duck it. And just make sure duck is okay. Well, that's something I need to fix, I guess, before I actually do that. That's not too bad. I do kind of want it to accelerate a little bit more. I'll take the middle ground and go with 0.75 and stick with that. Okay. So the laser sweep is starting slow, speeding up, and finishing slow. That's done. Next thing is to keep firing the laser if the player's ducking, which you saw just now. If the player ducks and the laser sweeps over, because the collision still goes off, that means that, you know, the laser you would expect if the player is ducking for the alien to keep firing and keep sweeping, but the problem is it hits that collision and decides, oh, I no longer need to fire because I hit something. So I need to change that, and that's going to be up in the script that's firing the laser. which is, let's see, I think it's in utility here. Draw laser. Okay, let's get this window out there so I can see what's going on. So this draw laser script is what's actually doing the work of drawing the laser and checking the collisions. So here's the player collision. If it runs into the player, then it creates a laser spot. It says you no longer need to fire the laser, and it sets the alien alarm back to 5. ID alarm is 5 if it's an alien source. Actually seeing something else I need to fix in here, but I don't want to get off track, so let me just do it in here. Let me just write a task. Make sure the alarm 5 in the laser is for the alien firing the laser. And I'll just put that off. Could probably look into that this week, but what I'm thinking is that because this alarm 5 here is assuming that an alien's firing this laser, that's fine, except the fact that it could be a crystal reflecting the laser, so that's no good. So I need to remember that. But for now, if it's meeting the player, it's saying it's okay. The problem is the player, it needs to check whether the player's ducking or not to determine if this laser has to stop firing. So I do need to check the player dodge state, which is PL dodge. I also need to check dead and hurt, because obviously if the player is hurt, I don't want to just keep having the laser hitting them or anything like that. And if they're dead, obviously they're just a body on the ground, so the laser should be able to pass over them just fine. And PandaBit says, is the direction the alien sweeps random? No, it's not supposed to be random. I think because of the way the charge is working now, because I did fix that at the beginning of the show, slight player movements are affecting whether it goes clockwise or counterclockwise. So if, let me show that in Paintbrush. So what's happening now is the alien checks this angle and starts to charge the laser. If the player moves up here, or starts to move down here, and then moves up here, for example, it's going to confuse the clockwise counterclockwise thing on the laser firing. I think I need to, that's one problem. I do need to fix that, so let's make a note to myself to fix that. Fix the laser clockwise counterclockwise check. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, because I was about to forget about that, but I do need to fix that. And PandaBits also mentions, can you simply create a check for whether the player is ducking or not? Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm about to do. And if line intercepts X, check duck. If, yeah, exactly. Future sight. Exactly. So that's what we're going to do now. PL dodge. So if PL dodge is 1, that means the player is ducking. I also need to worry about dead and hurt. So let's do that. PL dodge equals 1. Actually, if that's equal to 0, if, that way I don't have to do else's and all that stuff, or nots. And player PL hurts equal to 0, and player PL dead is equal to 0. Then do this. So shut down the laser only if the player is not dodging, not hurt, and not dead. In other words, they're ripe for getting burned. hopefully that's all I need to do. Let's try it out. Start ducking some lasers. We'll find out soon enough. I'm a little worried about the checking the hurt state one. I think if the player is hurt, maybe the alien should stop firing, but we'll see. There we go. No, ducked too soon there. Okay. Good. Excellent. That makes this a lot easier to get aliens to hit each other too. Don't even need crystals to get them to fire at each other. Okay. Well, that wasn't too bad. With the hurt state, the thing I'm a little worried about is if I have the laser still firing if the player's in the hurt state, is there going to be a chance that they get hit twice by the same laser? Well, not by the same laser, because if they get hit by one laser, the laser stops. But if there's two aliens going at the same time, which they were about to, if the player is hurt but another laser is sweeping over them just as they're about to recover, as a player that's kind of distressing. But I don't think the appropriate way to solve that is through the collision check. I think the appropriate way to solve that is to say, don't shoot a laser if the aliens, or if the player's hurt, because that's just nasty. Help if I spelled paintbrush right. So what I'm talking about is, let's say the player just got hit by another laser. Do I have a star in here? Yes, I do. So they're in this state where they're kind of wobbling around and they're hurt. Ordinarily, like if it's a bullet, they can't get hurt until they step up. But if this alien just happens to be sweeping a laser right across them as this state ends, you know, basically the equivalent of getting up off the ground just to have another laser hit you. Don't want that to happen because the players, it's kind of irritating. It may be less irritating if the player is able to dodge, like if they're hurt and they're getting up, they have like this brief window where they can roll in another direction. Maybe that's one way to solve it. The other way to solve it is through the AI and just say if the player gets hurt, just have all the aliens not fire lasers until the player's back on their feet. Probably need to do that for the bad cowboys as well, because you know otherwise they'll just get ready to fire a bullet, and as soon as the player gets up, boom, it's right in their face. And that's not fair. But I do have a task in the future to do an AI enemy manager, and I think that's one thing I'll have to do in here. So let me make a note of that. Don't shoot at the player, or get ready to shoot at the player if the player is hurt. So we'll make the enemies nice. So keep firing the laser if the player's ducking. That's good. The last thing here, one more thing I actually do want to do. Keep firing the laser even if it hits another alien. How do I want to do that? We'll see. It's probably not a huge task, but I'll keep that in mind, because right now, you know, you figure if the aliens are just kind of firing this laser out and they're not really caring what's going on, if their only goal is to seek out the player, then they're probably not going to care if they hit one of their alien compadres. They already hit them anyway, so might as well just keep firing the laser, right? So probably have to do something like that, where even if it hits another alien, knocks down their shield or whatever, the laser just keeps going. The only thing I have to be careful about there is to give the alien something equivalent to the player hurt state, which I'm going to need to do for here anyway, because right now, if the laser is like sweeping and causes a collision here and keeps going, then it'll probably hit the alien like 2, 3, 4 times by the time it sweeps past, and I can't have that happening because that makes it way too easy, and the player doesn't have to do anything, which is no fun for the player either. So, and Pandabit says, hey, more working mechanics. Yes, it's nice to get things working. At least it's much, much easier than having to deal with setting up the laser in the first place, which was a big pain. And by the way, Pandabits, if you weren't here for the last show, I don't think, for some of it, but I do have an article on bluetengu.com describing what I did with the laser and the different things I tried after that episode that you saw. So if you're curious about it, there is an article over there about the different ways I tried to implement the laser, and the one that ended up being the one that I put into the game. So just one more time to test to make sure the ducking works. There we go. Okay. At a good point. I am going to take a break so I can get some water, get my voice back up to normal. And so I will be back in probably about 6-7 minutes, but in the meantime I will play that animated short that I always play. For those of you on YouTube, I'll just be back in like half a second because you saw that animated short at the beginning of the episode. But I will be back in 5 or 6 minutes. Hope you're still around when I come back. And when I'm back, I will go after doing the alien damage delay stuff. Where I'm at now is I need to work on the aliens, but just in case some of you dropped by while I was out, I'm going to show you where I'm at now in Project Spaghetti, which is a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fired bounce around with a pinball mechanic. I'm now on the night level, which is the alien level, basically. Aliens are shielded, so the bullets just bounce off of them. They also fire lasers, which sweep 90 degrees. The only way to get an alien shield down is to have the laser hit them. Like that, basically. There are also crystal bumpers, which I took out for the sake of debugging. But if the laser hits those, it reflects back, hits them. That way, if you have just one alien left, you're not just kind of hosed. Also, the bullet, if it bounces enough, it'll get ready to explode. So you can also down an alien shield that way as well. But let me put those bumpers back in now. Let's keep them out for now, because I do want to test this stuff out too. Delay damage when hit by a laser. I think what I'm going to do is, for this, the player, for example, when they get hit by a bullet, goes into, let's see, hurt state. There we go. If the player still has lives left, they go into this thing called a hurt state. The animation is basically just those stars over their head, and they're just kind of sitting there on the ground for a certain number of seconds until they recover. I think I'm going to need to do a similar system for the aliens so that when they do get hit by a laser, there's a chance to run an animation on them. For example, one thing I'm thinking of for the future here is you've got the alien inside their little craft. Nice job with the alien there, Eric. And they've got their shield here. When they fire out a laser, when someone else fires out a laser that hits them, what's happening right now is as soon as it hits that shield, it just vanishes. That's not very interesting. What should happen is it hits that shield, and then this shield probably like changes colors, or it vibrates, or something happens, and then the shield drops. So to have that little bit of a delay, I'm going to need to create something similar to the player hurt state, so that I can run an animation where the shield looks like it's about to drop and then drops. It's also going to help with that other task that I just added before the break, which was have the laser keep sweeping even if it hits another alien. That way I don't do double damage, because if I do, have it as it is now, one laser sweep could take off their shield and kill them at the same time, so that's no good. So I need to give them something like the player's hurt state. So let's see, EM hurt. This will also help me if I do make a boss enemy in the game, because the boss enemy will probably also have like a hurt state or something. So by default, that's just 0 because they're not hurt. If the laser does hit them and down their shield, or if an explosion downs their shield, alien shield off. That is exactly where I need to do that stuff. So right now, all the script does is call alarm 4, but what I want to do is say EM hurts equal to 1, so that they are in the hurt state. And like the player, if they're in the hurt state, they shouldn't be hit again. So first thing I should remember to do is jump in here and say if they're hit by a bullet. If they're hit by a bullet, it doesn't matter, it's the explosion. Well, actually, I should do the hurt state for all 3 types. There's a reason for that, because if their shield goes down, they might be in the hurt state, which means the bullet shouldn't hit them right away until that shield visually looks like it goes away. So if they're not in the hurt state, then do this stuff. That's easy enough. If the alien isn't hurt, process the damage, basically, or potential damage. And I need to do that for all of these. So for the bullet, the explosion, and the laser, if they're in the hurt state, don't keep hurting them. And the only way they come out of the hurt state is, let's see, this alarm 4. So alarm 4 means that I want to turn the hurt state back to 0 when alarm 4 is called. So alien alarm 4, EM shield. So this just drops their shield status, which is fine. EM hurt, and they're no longer hurt. They're back on their tentacles, ready to attack the player again. So that means the thing that's going to be important is this alien shield buffer. And I don't know what I have that set to now. 1.1. So 1.1 seconds before the shield goes down, basically. Just for reference, the player dodge cooldown is 1 second. Die delay is 1 second. Recovery time is 1 second, so I guess 1 is a pretty good number. Alien shield buffer 1. So 1 second. Explosion time times 1.1. Yeah, let me just keep that in the comments in case it's important. Because I think the reason I did this the first time around was because the explosion collision sticks around for a while, at least until the explosion goes away. Wanted to make sure that at a minimum, this is always greater than that. But it should be okay, I suppose. 1 second. Let's see what happens. Oh, to actually test this, I need to do one more thing. Sorry to almost jump in the game there, but just like I was doing for the player, I need to do it for the alien too. Kill two birds with one stone, basically, that extra task that I just added. If alien. Yeah, that's a problem. I may have to reconfigure this. Yeah, it's probably not going to work because the problem is alien could be any alien. Because all this is saying is that there was a collision at this point with an alien. So I can't just go alien dot something because an alien is a class. I mean, it is an object, but in Game Maker lingo, but it's basically in programming a class, which means there's 5 of these alien objects running around. This references the class. What I need is to reference the object if I want to get at its variables. At least with player, there's only one player, so this works. But with alien, there's multiple aliens, so it doesn't work. For now, let's do other, if that works. Hopefully it does. Just so I can come back to this if I screw things up. Let me make a comment here. And let's see. So if it's not a player or a crystal, it's something else. If it's something else, it's probably an alien, but just in case I do add other objects into the stage, I just want to make sure that I do this all right. Other object index, get name, other. And that should be the same. So if it's hitting an alien, then we start to do this stuff. And the thing that I just had was EM hurt. So only if it's not hurt. Actually, I don't have to worry about this at all anymore, do I? Never mind. Never mind, never mind. Don't know what I'm doing. Because it's not like the player. I want the aliens to keep firing regardless of whether they're hitting another alien, so it doesn't need to know any of this stuff. So never mind all of this. Let's go back to where we were. So basically all I need to do is this. Because all this alarm did was shut off the laser. This OK and this alarm, all they do is shut off the laser that's being fired. I no longer want to do that, nor need to do that, so I just comment this out. And I can worry about the collision here because, if the laser is sweeping past, regardless of whether the alien's ducking or not ducking, I can just create that collision there when it's hitting. And basically let the alien deal with the laser collision itself. So that should work. The aliens should keep firing even after they hit another one of their compadres. Let's see what happens. Now that there's 2 there, they should start hitting each other. Yep, perfect. That went a lot better than I thought it would. So now the aliens can really cause damage to each other. Basically cleaning everyone up. Makes that a lot easier to kill the aliens. Maybe too easy. So I need to think of something. What I could possibly do is if an alien hits a shielded alien, I could have, kind of that effect that goes on with the crystal, so that the alien ends up hitting itself, and that stops the laser from going. Because otherwise this is just way too easy. As it is right now, it's way too easy. So, what I think I'm going to do is put that back. Put that back because if the sweep is 90 degrees, 1 or 2 sweeps is going to get rid of the shields of all the aliens. Wasn't even thinking about that, which is why it's good to test this stuff. So it actually probably is better if the alien stops shooting the laser when it hits one of its friends. So basically it's back to the way it was. The shield goes down a second later. They can still kill each other, but at least they can't kill like everyone else, which is good. So that's one of those things where I think I'm just gonna, call the task not. It makes the game too easy. It makes the game too easy. And I'm just gonna get rid of that one. Delay damage when hit by a laser, that's working now. And I should probably, just to show that that state is happening. Yeah, and exactly. Pandavits mentions that there seems to be a bit of a delay now between the alien getting hit and losing its shield. That's actually there intentionally. In the future, at least what I'm about to do right now, is what I wanted to happen was not just have the shield vanish instantly when the laser hit it, but to have it, either shake or glow red or change color or something, and then go down. It's just that I don't have that graphic in the middle, so it just looks like there's a delay. Because there is a delay of 1 second in there. But I think I am going to hop in and make at least a different sprite for when that's happening, because otherwise it does look really weird. Even me, it kind of bugs me and I know what's going on with that stuff. Always accidentally hit browse. I don't want to do browse. I want to go to the desktop and enemies alien. So there's our original alien. Want to have another state called alien, what would you call it? Not unshielded, but alien getting their shield destroyed. Shield flow, shield energy. Let's call it shield absorb. Shield absorb. I'll at least remember what that means. And let's change this to maybe a color like red or something. I'll bring over the Commodore 64 palette, which is the limitation I've set for myself with Project Spaghetti is to use the original Commodore 64 colors. Although I'm using transparency and particles and things that would never exist on like the Commodore 64. Well, I guess transparency might, but let's see. Let's go with yellow, red, red. Red seems more like a getting damaged kind of color. And I want this to be the shield. And I want the alpha to be different. Okay, I'll just have to use the same technique I did before. Oh, it looks like Twitch is cutting out on me. Hopefully you guys aren't getting cut off in the middle of the video. I guess that just happens on Twitch once in a while. Okay, so duplicate the layer. Actually, I can keep this one in the background and just work on this one. Just magic erase this and then draw over it with semi-transparent tool there. So let's drop the opacity to 70%. No, that's a little too much, 70%. Okay, and let's draw over the blue shield. Make sure it looks exactly the same. I could use fill, but it's kind of relaxing filling it, painting by the numbers here. Okay. So that's going to be the alien when it's being hit by the laser, but before its shield drops. So let's save this out so I can bring it in as a sprite. What did I call it? Absorb? Absorbing. Alien absorbing PNG. Okay. So let's bring that over into GameMaker. Yes, I do want to save this. And sprites. So need to add a new alien sprite, which is going to be the same thing as shielded in terms of collision and everything else. It just looks different. Alien absorb. Absorbing. And load that sprite. Enemies, alien absorbing. Center. I just have to make sure I get the collision exactly the same as this. 517, 118. 517, 118. So you don't want to change the collision midway through because otherwise weird things could happen. It's still centered at 1210. Is this one centered at 1210? Yes. Okay. So now I have a new sprite that has a reddish shield. And I was about to apologize for Twitch going down, but yeah, it's just Twitch going down. Twitch being twitchy, just happens. Hopefully it didn't knock too many of you guys off. Wish it was a little more stable, but yeah, growing pains, I'm sure. So if I'm dealing with sprites, I need to do that in the aliens draw event. So determine the right sprite to draw. If em hurt, so now if the alien is in that hurt state, I want to draw that sprite that I just added. Now let's call it em sprite hurt. And I need to set that up here. Em sprite hurt. And set that to what I just had, which was SPR alien absorbing. I hope. And that might be enough to do it. We'll find out. So now if an alien is getting hit by another laser, until their shield drops, it should look red. If I did everything right. Now we're about to find out. No, that is not working. Okay. Not working, not working. So let's see. For em hertz equal to 0. So em hertz equal to 1. If em hertz equal to 1, then draw em sprite hurt, regardless of direction. Oh, I see why. This needs to be an else if. Otherwise it just overrides what I just did. At least it's an easy thing to fix. Need to keep my hand ready to duck when I need to duck. There we go. So now it makes a little more sense, right? There's a reason there's a delay. At least it makes more visual sense now. The only thing I probably still do want to do is have the laser, maybe, when it's dropping that shield, stay in place for a second. How would I go about that? Let's see, alien, draw a laser. Draw a laser if the alien's firing, that's fine. That's fine. Laser spot, that's fine. Alien 5, 6. So EM laser direction basically just needs to stop being incremented if it's hitting another alien. Right. Okay. So let's make sure we're getting that information. So draw laser. Draw laser is called from the alien unless it's a crystal firing the laser. If the crystal's firing the laser, it's not sweeping, so it doesn't need to worry about it. It's only if it's an alien firing the laser. So if origin type, get object name, object index. So this needs to be there for the alien. And in this case, it's going to work because it's just working on the thing that's actually firing the laser, which is good. So if an alien is firing the laser, then I don't need to worry about this. Well, maybe I do. Let's see, if hitting crystal's false. Hitting crystals equal to true. So if hitting alien is false, then hitting alien is true. Stop sweeping. Delay before stopping the laser. So basically exactly what it does with a crystal, except with an alien as well. Okay. So I just need to have this working. Hitting alien. So wherever I have EM hitting crystal, I need to do the same thing with EM hitting alien. Hopefully I have all my ifs and elses and everything else in place. So EM hitting crystal is false. So I need an EM hitting alien. That's false. And where else am I using EM hitting crystal? It doesn't look like I'm using it anywhere else. False name. Hitting crystal. Just in case, do I have EM hitting crystal here somewhere? So I don't see where I'm resetting that, which is kind of spooking me out a little bit. Not sure why my search isn't showing up properly. There we go. EM hitting. Let's just go with hitting. Okay. So I guess when it starts firing, I should probably reset those, just in case. So EM hitting crystal, because if it's not shooting, it shouldn't be hitting anything. False. Hitting alien, false. Okay. That's that. Let me just double check this. So stop sweeping, yeah, so okay. I turn alarm 6, which does the angle calculation, off, and I turn alarm 5 on after a certain delay. So this should have the alien laser stop and keep firing at an alien when it hits an alien, rather than just pass by the shield. Which should pair up with that shield changing red graphic pretty well. Assuming things work. Yeah, that delay is too short. Yeah, the delay is a little too short. So let's change that. So end laser delay, what is it? What was I using? Alien end laser delay. Okay, so that needs to be longer. Probably about a second. Maybe a little under a second. So rather than 0.1, which is almost unnoticeable, let's go with, well, let's try 0.8. 0.8 seconds. Just so that the laser's still kind of firing out for a little bit of time after it hits something. I see what I'm doing wrong here. It's not so much that, it's the fact that I'm turning the laser off here. So I need to not do that. Which means this is probably not working either. Else if OK is equal to 1. Oh, actually, no, it's fine there. It's just I have to do this. So if EM hitting alien's false, if the origin is an alien, then that, if the origin is not an alien, if it's a crystal, then I don't have to worry about any of this, really. If it's a crystal, it shouldn't care that it's hitting something, because it's just reflecting a laser. In laser delay. Let me change this to hit laser delay. I need a different variable because the end laser delay is at the end of the sweep, how long it stays there before it shuts off. I don't want to use the same thing because then it looks weird when it finishes its sweep. So let's change this back to 1 and insert a new one. Alien hit laser delay. And make this one 0.8. And see what happens. So I was using the same variable to mean two different things, and that's never a good thing, because then you can't adjust either one of those on their own. Okay. It's more or less doing what I want it to do. Let's get it down to just 2 aliens here. Should have left one with shields. So it's working the way I expect it to, except the alien that's getting hurt, one thing, it needs to stop moving, just like the player can't move when it's hurt. So that's one thing I need to do. Let's see, bad cowboy alien. Debugging, so it's the step that I'm doing that. If shooting stop movement, or if hurt stop movement, because otherwise it just, what's the point? It's just moving out of the range of the laser, so there'll be things that happen like this. This alien's happily sweeping its laser, but it stops when it hits another alien here. Except this alien, if it doesn't stop moving, is just going to move out of the way of that laser, which means this thing's just going to keep firing off for no reason, etc. That's kind of weird. It needs to be just like the player. It stops moving if it's hurt. The next thing is that I have to stop drawing the laser all the way out, which means I do need this OK1 in there. Because this OK1, all this does is it tells the laser draw, because the laser draw right now is working like this. It's basically moving just a little bit at a time. Just step by step by step by step until it hits something. And when it hits something, it sets OK to 1, which means you no longer have to draw the laser any further. So as long as I set OK1 here, it should stop drawing the laser instead of piercing through the shield, which looked really weird. So now 2 things should work. The alien being hit should stop moving, and the laser should stop where it hits the shield, if I did everything right. No guarantees on that whatsoever. No, it's still drawing the laser. Still drawing the laser, which is kind of weird. It's definitely stopping it all right. It's stopping it all right. But it's probably what it's doing is it's stopping this laser, but the next laser that comes after this, because it's just going through that draw loop every frame, it's probably stopping this particular laser here, but because it's still drawing more lasers after that, the lasers after that are probably going right through. So let's see so basically if it is hitting the alien, then I don't need to draw the laser anymore. That should work. We'll find out. We'll find out. There we go. Obviously it depends on where that collision is actually taking place, but now these lasers are feeling really good. When it hits another alien, I do have to treat aliens without shields differently. That's one last fix I need to do. Because as you can see there, the alien stops and keeps firing the laser even though the other alien is no longer even on the screen, because it's not in a hit state per se. So let's see. If position meeting alien, if it's meeting an alien, that's fine. That's going to be actually kind of tricky to do, because probably what's going on now is I have a little bit of a delay before the alien actually, as an object, gets destroyed, so that I could have like a dying sprite later on. And so what's happening is that collision is still there, so the laser is still interacting with it, which means it comes in here, so it keeps firing the laser at that spot. So I need information on what it's hitting, which brings me back to I need the information on this. It would be nice if GameMaker was clever enough to say that, oh, okay, if this is the alien he's referenced most recently, that's the one I should use when, looking for variables or whatever. But I don't think it is. We could try. We could try. We'll find out. I guarantee this will not work, and it'll cause weird things to happen, like probably aliens that aren't even in the path of the laser will suddenly have their shields dropped and stuff like that, but let's find out. If enemy, what is it, shielded? Need to find that variable. EM shield. Okay, so if it has a shield, it's 1. If it doesn't have a shield, it's 0. So if the alien isn't shielded, just kill it and move on. Else, this stuff. Otherwise, do the fancy stuff, basically. Actually, I should probably have this out here. If EM hitting alien is true, then worry about it. Otherwise, have to change the logic up a little bit, because if it's hitting an alien, the alien shield goes down, so it might confuse this logic if I don't switch some of these ifs and elses around. So if it's hitting an alien, that means the alien was shielded, and it's just continuing to hit it. If that's the case, then I don't need to worry about this. Actually, false. Okay. If not hitting a shielded enemy, if not continuing to hit a shielded enemy, then if the alien isn't shielded, kill it and move on. Otherwise, start the whole shielded alien hit stuff. Otherwise, process for shielded aliens. Okay, so if if it's not hitting an alien and the alien is not shielded, all I want to do is stop this. So ID alarm. If I can type, my brain works like a normal curve too. Starts off slow, gets a little faster, and then by the time the episode comes to an end, it starts to slog down a bit. It's laser delay. Delay before stopping the laser. In that case, I think I can just go with the regular one. What am I doing for the player? Yeah, hit. Player. Oh, I'm just setting alarm 5 to 1 frame. Okay. That's... Well... No. That's probably not too cool. Let's do it this way. Not just 1 frame, but that. Stop sweeping. Okay, and that's the same. Oh, not hit, end. Otherwise the player's going to get up from their hurt state and just get hit again. So it needs to be end laser delay. And if the alien's not shielded, then just stop the laser. Otherwise, figure out how long it needs to be hit. And if it's just continuing to hit a shielded enemy, then just keep drawing the laser up until that shield. This is all going to come down to whether whether GameMaker knows what to do with this, which I don't think it will. I don't think it'll know what alien I'm talking about when I use that, but we'll find out. Bad things will probably happen. That worked out fine, but need to have the aliens start killing each other. Processing works fine in that case. Nope. That seemed to be alright. Maybe it's figuring it out. Yeah, maybe it is figuring it out for me. I'm still a little bit nervous about this. Let me just write a comment reminding myself to be nervous about this. Be nervous about, let me make sure you guys can see it, this. Because that seems awfully fishy. One other thing. I don't think I want to stop the laser from sweeping, actually. Because otherwise it looks kind of weird. Because the laser needs a little bit of a delay before it shuts off, but if it stops sweeping and the player or whatever's already dead, it just looks kind of funny. At least it did when I was doing this just now. Let's see how this looks. And I need to test to make sure that the laser hits the player properly too, because I did make a change there. Looking pretty good overall. Looks alright for the player. In that case, it's still drawing the laser, which is kind of throwing me off a little bit. Not sure why it's doing that. Yeah, like, why is that laser sometimes stopping and why is it sometimes going through? That's what's kind of bugging me at the moment. Let me take another look at it. Because sometimes it's working and sometimes it's not. Like there it's working. The laser stopped drawing when it hit the shield. It's working there too. Oh. Yeah, I suspect that alien thing that I was nervous about is what's causing the problem, but I'll leave that for a debugging task. Since I just did this, I probably should write this task up. So I just did this one. And I need to do a debug task. Laser sometimes draws through an alien shield. Which is no good because if the player's on the other side of that, that probably means the player is going to get hit. Not something the player is going to expect. But that is a task for the future. And let's give a time on this. This probably won't take too long to fix, so I'll just give that 0.5. Make sure the alarm is one the laser firing the laser. Actually, that's fine. No. It's fine. The laser's for the alien firing the laser. Yeah, that's actually fine. Okay. So I'm going to wrap this up since it has been 2 hours and you guys have been very patient with me, at least those of you who are still with me after Twitch kept dropping on me. What I got done. When I first started the episode, the very first thing I did, obviously, checked my schedule and whatnot, but the first thing I got out of the way was the alien used to start firing in one of 8 directions and then start sweeping towards the player. That was awfully confusing because it would pick the direction closest to the player and then start sweeping, so very weird behavior, but I fixed that. Not weird, it was planned behavior, but it just didn't work in a way that the player would expect, which is no good. Got the laser sweep to start slow, speed up, and then finish slow like a normal curve, like the curve of my brain during these episodes. Got the alien to keep firing the laser if the player is ducking, so the player can duck under the laser and the laser sweeps past. Got the alien damage delay when hit by a laser, so if the alien is shielded, the laser continues to hit that shield for about a second now until that shield disappears. That's fine. And I've got hold the laser on the alien shield until it drops. These two are related, but just a little bit different. So that handles episode 23. And let's jump over here, prep up for episode 24 next week. Bring it all the way over past all the weeks since July into here. Okay, and next week I'm not going to worry about debug tasks. I can probably do that either later or on my own. Next week what I want to do is the player right now, when it ducks an attack, I'll show this level since I haven't seen it in a while, right? When it ducks an attack, basically, can't move. So while they're ducking, they're kind of frozen there. And what I want to change is that when they're ducking, say I want to roll to the right, I want to let the player have that power. So that's what I want to do with that task. Have a rolling dodge so that it gives the player more choices. and at least show what's going on. I don't know if I'm going to get a great sprite going, but just something to show that they're in that state is probably about as far as I'm going to get with that. So that's for next week. After that, I'll probably start worrying about player health, but that's what I have planned for next week. And let's drop off my desktop here. And let's see here. That was a long episode. Okay, but at least the laser is working really well now. Just have to debug those few points, but at least I think the aliens are mostly where they need to be, which is a good thing. So thank you for watching the Game Development Show. You can catch past episodes and this one over at www.youtube.com/Blue Tengu Studio, all one word. Definitely subscribe and keep track of those videos. I'd appreciate it. And certainly if you want to like the videos, I'd appreciate that as well. If you're watching this later on YouTube, come drop by the live show we do every week. For those of you here in Twitch, you know exactly what's going on, but come drop by the live show we do every week on Twitch TV Blue Tengu. Time-wise, since it's now standard time, for those of you in North America, that means the show is Fridays 3 to 5 Pacific, 4 to 6 Mountain, 5 to 7 Central, 6 to 8 Eastern. If you're somewhere around the UK, it's, let's see, Friday night 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Saturday morning. If you're here in Japan with me, it's my time, which is 8 to 10 a.m. Saturday morning. And depending on where you live in Australia, it starts anywhere from 8 to 10, and it starts around 11 a.m. on Saturday morning if you're in New Zealand. We always announce what we're doing through Twitter, so definitely follow Tengu. It's down there in the Twitch feed as well to keep track of when the live show starts, or episodes go up on YouTube, or you can follow us on Twitch or YouTube. Definitely would appreciate it, by the way. And of course, you can see what we're up to anytime over at www.bluetengu.com. Thank you for watching me put that laser together. I hope some of you stuck through the Twitch outages, but that's Twitch. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week and next time.